like first, what will happen is you apply, and if the role suits you, or they find that there could be something, they will invite you to a phone interview. And this phone interview, the first one is not really, they won't go too hard on you, but they will definitely poke you what you know. Okay? And it's always good if they have your repos, because then you can always talk about it.
Yeah.
You can show them, you can tell, hey, yeah, I have this repo here I sent you. There you can see also how I did it. Like often you can also just pinpoint them there and stuff. So it's really a big bonus. And another thing is the interview after the first phone interview, which is really just getting a hang on, is then comes the technical interview. And the technical interview is where they really, really want to see what you know. Hello, everyone, and welcome to one of our special videos.
Yeah. Hello. What
It was requested before. See?
Yeah. Right.
That could actually really be.
Yeah.
No. Today we will be talking about a topic we promised before, which is hiring. We said before that because, of course, after the course, you will head towards getting your first job probably in software industry. So it's always good a bit to understand what you are gonna be facing.
Yeah.
So should we maybe just go through it in historical parts?
Yeah.
You know, the applying phase and that stuff. Like in the beginning, it's a bit hard, I guess, if you're not fully from the credentials in the software industry. But what I really recommend is do some, like even your Python courses and whatever you currently have, display your code on GitHub.
Yeah.
Because recruiters will ask you for a lot of stuff. They will ask you for often LinkedIn account if you have one. They will ask you for a GitHub account if you have one. And if you have code, always show it. You can always say it's just hobby. Also, so that they take it with a grain of salt, because even I, as a professional developer, really give a shit for code at my hobby. Like I don't do it in production style. Come on, like it's so much work, you know, to do something production grade. I don't have that time in my spare time. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a bit a thing. I really recommend that. I think you have some codes too already, right? Also Java and stuff like this.
Yeah. It's not all up in Git, because there's also the question of who owns the code, because a lot of what I coded during the PhD phase belongs officially to the university. But I did a short rewrite on that in Python, for example.
Yeah.
But that's still private because it's still very messy. But yeah.
Okay.
So I try to put stuff on there, also with that in mind, to just build a little bit of you could say a card for yourself, where you can just show that you did something. And I think one key feature will always be that they will look at how active you are on Git and what you're doing there and stuff like that. So I think it's good to be on there. Definitely.
Yeah, but also be aware, like a lot of people who apply to me, they most of the time they have nothing, like not a single repo on GitHub. Yeah, you would be surprised.
Wow.
I would also expect, even when we ask for mid or senior level, one important thing to notice, writing code on the side of your job, if you have a shitty company, they say, if it's even remotely related to your work, it's ours. And stuff like that. There can be a lot of illegal issues. And in especially US, people kind of like the moment they join a company and write code, they don't do open source at all anymore, depending on how horrible the company's policies are. So be aware that, some do it because of legal reasons, but some also just don't do it generally. Maybe not no time, have kids and stuff. But the default is really no code. So it's a big bonus if you have something, if you prep up your little Python CLI and they see how it's nicely done and whatever, that's a big bonus. That's a huge bonus.
Okay.
And one good thing about it is also, like first, what will happen is you apply, and if the role suits you, or they find that there could be something, they will invite you to a phone interview. And this phone interview, the first one is not really, they won't go too hard on you, but they will definitely poke you what you know. Okay. And it's always good if they have your repos, because then you can always talk about it.
Yeah.
You can show them, you can tell, hey, yeah, I have this repo here I sent you. There you can see also how I did it. Like often you can also just pinpoint them there and stuff. So it's really a big bonus. And another thing is this, the interview after the first phone interview, which is really just getting a hang on, is then comes the technical interview. And the technical interview is where they really, really want to see what you know. And what they usually do is before the technical interview, they give you a coding task. You need to solve it, upload it, and then you will they will talk with you about it. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's where stuff is usually the delicate phase, kind of where you really need to they also want to see how you work with criticism and stuff. So don't think that, there can always be done more. I know that about my code myself. So don't be also too anxious, because you will never deliver code that they won't complain. That's impossible. That's literally not possible. No.
It's like doing your PhD without thinking about getting comments from your supervisors.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely impossible.
Yeah.
So go in there. You can always give good reasons why you didn't do something, like I didn't have enough, like time was too short for me, or whatever. Just say really what was going on. Just be truthful. That's maybe the biggest advice I can give people is really stay just truthful, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You can also say, I don't have too much experience there, but I'm sure I can get it done, or something like it. If you also have, I don't know, later Docker or something where you really never really work, but you know that it's not that difficult.
Yeah, so I saw that meme recently on LinkedIn about what experience do you have? None. Hired. And the post was about that the most successful people were people who had no experience in that field where they succeeded, because they had that attitude to whatever comes, they will learn and adapt to it. And so I think that's a huge bonus if you just be honest and open about things.
Yeah, a friend of mine, him, Pasco. He's the same.
Yeah.
When he joined me back then, my team, he had almost no knowledge. After 1 year, I think he learned 3 new programming languages. He was a monster after that. I've rarely encountered someone so eager and willing to learn back then. And now at work, I encounter colleagues or people which after a year they don't know really much more. Like it's incredible, they just kind of go around the hard parts,
Yeah. Easiest way. Yeah.
It's okay. You need both types of people, but yeah, definitely.
Sure.
You can really, if you really want to, you can really make it work. Yeah. So that's then the technical interview. A bit scary. I don't know how about you, but I always am a bit scared of the technical interview.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, I never had one of those. I just had a normal interview where we're headed to the company, and it was for sure you would test a little bit about the knowledge, but basically, I think every interview I encountered, they believed what was written on the papers and that I could do that stuff, and so that was not really that much of a question. So they didn't poke too much on that. But I think it's different, very different in the software industry, that you will get a little bit poked and tested. I think that's fair.
One secret trick I have also for you is I really hate those coding tasks because it takes so much time to solve them just to not get a job later also, So you cannot push out too many of these on the side, especially if you have a social life,
right?
Like a family or something now in our age, young kids. but also later on. There's just a limit to how many recruitings you can handle.
Yeah.
Big tip is, if you have projects, private projects, direct them there and tell them if they could take this, if it's the same language or whatever, if you could take this as the discussion for or something, that kind of, you could skip maybe the coding task. And this is a big, really, really try it. If they say no, that's another part, but they would just want to see if you can code, and if you already have a repo, why should you make another coding task?
Sure, yeah.
So you save yourself a ton of time by just making one small little hobby project like we have now in these coding tasks in our course.
Yeah.
And in our professional Python course, look it up if you don't see it. It's on our channel. And the coding tasks there, they're basically pretty much in this, already a bit bigger than usually the task you would get, but about that size, yeah. So give them to them and say, hey, I have here a few repos or whatever. Could we just do it over one of these, Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah, but don't make the mistake to just copy paste everything in your GitHub profile and then just think you're done when you have that copied in there, because they will see with the commits and they will ask you, and if you cannot explain that thing to them, you're in big trouble. So
yeah, fully agree, man. Fully agree. Definitely build up stuff vanilla style. Like really make one repo, build it up yourself. Then you know your homework.
Yeah.
Because you're right. If you cannot answer a question why you did something in a certain way, that's definitely a flag.
Yeah. Yeah. And also I think even the bigger flag is if they catch you when you wanted to pretend that you know but you didn't. So it comes back to this honesty thing, because I think a lot of what goes into an interview is what kind of feeling does the interviewer get from you as a person and who you are.
And I had one unbelievable interview.
Yeah.
I remember I had the phone interview with that guy, and he was throwing buzzwords at me, man, like with continuous integration and whatever. Like I never had anyone who had so many buzzwords punching out, and also to the right questions. So it seemed like, okay, he seemed very knowledgeable actually. But I don't let myself fool myself in that sense, because I knew that this is unusual. And unusual is usually always either this person is extremely high or extremely low, but there's no margin between. And of course then the coding task came and he was totally crushed. Like he kind of, I never had a case like this. He really had all of the buzzwords, but he had never really done anything. It's very strange. Like he definitely overhyped it by far, and he didn't, like his coding repo was not good, like it was way worse than what we have in our course here.
Yeah.
So yeah, unfortunately, of course, didn't get the job because it was for a mid or senior position,
Yeah.
But unbelievable. Like don't push it a bit. And I tell you why, because they also push their stuff a bit, they always want a bit more from you than they would have to. And sometimes you need to push a bit more to get it even in the first place, especially in the beginning.
Core,
yeah. But don't overdo it. If you don't know anything, like whatever, what is this? And you're like, yeah, I worked with it or something, and you never really worked with it. Stay truthful still, Don't lean too much. Like don't say you know stuff which you don't know and so forth.
Yeah. Being honest. I think that's really one of the biggest tips we can give. Be honest about things. And
honesty is a big part, man, because I also don't want to work with people who have an ego and tell me what they can do and later they can't, or they, you know what I mean? Like I have no problem if a colleague comes to me and says, I have no experience here. I have absolutely no problem with it.
Yeah. I think most of the people from university have to be, all have to be taught on certain things in their job. So it's basically a thing to do in the corporate environment. So why bother that much? The people from university, they cannot do everything. So
Yeah, the
learn
problem is more or less you need a person with a good learning rate.
Right.
Like you can take someone, you have the choice. It's a bit a delicate topic, which I want to cover after this, but team composition.
Yeah. Right.
And you kind of your team is composed of seniors, but it's never only seniors. You also have mid developers.
Yes.
You have people with different roles. A DevOps engineer maybe who just does majorly the DevOps. Then you have the core developers, which basically do the major work. You have maybe a front-end developer who does the front end. You know, you have different people for different jobs because you cannot do these jobs all by yourself. It's absolutely impossible. It's too much.
Yeah.
And there is this team composition. Maybe we go into it right now. And you always need to keep in mind that the other side is kind of searching for a puzzle piece. And even it might be that you are good, but you might not fit in this corner where they need it. So that's also okay. So if you get a decline, it's always very disappointing in a way, right? To get a decline.
Yeah.
Also to me.
Yeah.
But I always, having seen the other side, I know that there might be actually good reasons that their needs won't be covered by my skill set or who I am, you know. That's a bit the thing. So you need to be aware that there is this team composition thing. Another thing I want also to mention there is also after the technical interview, if it's a good company, they will give you the chance to interview them a bit. Or you should really push for it that you get a chance for it and really do that. Because the most important thing people forget is companies come and I had one post someone wrote me where like, for anyone who proves to be worthy of this position, a formulation like this. And I'm like, what the hell is this?
Race.
Yeah, definitely not want to work for you, you know? Like, because those companies always come and say, you need to prove us that you're worthy. And I always come and say, yeah, but you also need to prove to me that that I'm worthy, you're worthy, that I work for you, you know? And many companies who don't give you the choice to nag them a bit about how is it really, you know? How is remote work?
Yeah.
Why
hours, pay, whatever.
Yeah, check a bit online about the company. Push a few also critical buttons, you know, like how is the try to figure out, is there empathy also in the team? What I really love is, for example, at my boss is super there. We have a team interview. So after the technical interview, where basically it's clear that the person would technically get hired, we make a team interview. We get all the people from the team, and the hiree gets an hour to interview us.
Okay.
And that's really cool, because then he can also figure out if that's something something which fits to him. And it reminds me a bit more of, it's more like starting a relationship where it's not like you come around and say, hey, I will check out if you're worthy and then we can have a relationship. That doesn't work, right?
No.
If you want to have a healthy marriage or at least a normal relationship or also friendship, because it's mutual. You know,
it has to work for both sides.
Yeah,
definitely.
So some companies who don't give you that opportunity, if you have to take the job for some reason, do it. But big red flag if you cannot figure out how it's really looking behind. And I need to check if I had a few questions to where you could figure out how it's really behind the scenes, you know.
Okay. Yeah, that would be interesting, I think.
Good questions are always, why is this position open? Sometimes someone left, and sometimes someone left for a good reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think what I can comment on that is that in every team it's like a combination of special forces, as you already told. That and you might be fitting in the role which is open, but you might not. But besides that, what I just, when you was talking about that, just this quote came to my mind from Rick Rubin. He's this famous guy of composing music and stuff. He has this quote that apart from the ability of the individual artist, what matters more, even or equally at least, is how the group harmonizes. I think that's certainly true also for work teams, that you have to fit in that group, not just from the skill level or from the skill role or your role, what you want to do, what you are as a
Yeah.
person, but also from what you are as a person, how you fit in there. And yeah, because I think a lot of what creates, I don't know how to say that, but this efficiencies in the team is not really this lack of skill, but more or less social factors like
I
getting
can tell
along.
you a bit more about it because I
Yeah.
had a few roller coasters with that.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
yeah, you usually have two kinds of people. Um, you have people who are more empathic.
Mm-hmm.
You have people with empathy comes always with a low ego a bit also, not necessarily, but
Yeah.
kind of like they don't want to necessarily shine for their work. They don't would take credit for work others did. They have no problem giving credit to others for what they did.
They have the ability to put their ego aside to just be
Empathic, basically, yeah, to connect to the other person and also to let them shine. Not that you necessarily have the would push yourself to shine.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
that's maybe the best. But also to understand yourself, and I think that is extremely difficult in tech because people, they are extremely good at technology,
Yeah.
but on the human level they have high discrepancies. Big things are, what do you really want in life? Is this really what you want at the moment? How do you deal then if stuff does go in a way that you don't like? How do you deal with pressure? And for example, the reason why it's so difficult is, for example, you have a colleague and something is not working out between the two of you. How do you deal with it? And people who don't have experience or haven't trained their social part or their self exploration, they communicate also things then really problematic, like start yelling at each other, like you
Sure.
you
Every
duck hole.
friction.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
they don't, because they don't understand what's really going on in them. They cannot just formulate it out like, in that situation I just had the need to do it differently. And it made me really sad that in that moment you took my work and basically made it yours and overruled it. That is an entirely different thing than when, if I would yell at someone, and someone who does not have this experience and this maturity will definitely, you will get a lot more artificial friction. And if a person is involved with a big ego, it gets a lot more problematic even. Okay. And you can think of one thing: technical fit, not so much of a problem. If a person doesn't have all the skills you need, within a year, usually if he has a reasonable growth rate, you get him wherever you want. That's possible.
Yeah.
Social fit, if that person, he or she, is not a social fit, forget it.
Yeah.
Because
Cannot change that.
first of all, you cannot change it. The person needs to herself or himself to change. So if they don't want to necessarily, you're stuck. And the second thing is, the journey to discover yourself and understand yourself, social fit. If you need to correct something which is really severe that people rage out or whatever, takes not a year but a decade. You can basically really say things of self-exploration and all of that, and the social part, it takes a lot longer. It takes a lot of time because these are patterns deeply engraved in you, often since childhood.
Yeah, right.
And
so you're conditioned more or less, like the tech people are also conditioned to be more number focused or left brain focused, right? And that's a thing, you have to just deal with it. And so could be a reason why you're not getting hired, because it doesn't fit to the team, this case.
Exactly. So
That's
there's
a
the
hard
social
topic,
fit always.
right?
And the thing is, often companies, this is also a bit, if, it depends on what you want yourself. You can go in any job you want and you don't have to do it my way, but I just give out a bit of my wisdom, how I figured out good jobs for myself. For example, I always check how mature is the team. That's why I like the team interview. I check how empathic are they really? How do they deal with stress? How do they communicate?
Yeah.
And if I then see that there is a rough tone, the boss or people are not acknowledging your feelings, for example, like you say, I'm not happy with the situation at the moment, and they come and say, "Oh, don't complain. Otherwise it's worse." That's red flag, bam.
But
because
do
they
you
not
get that in a team interview? Or they
no. But when you're in a job already, maybe in a team
no.
interview, I would ask a different question. But it comes down to the same thing,
Okay, yeah.
To really that they acknowledge that if you struggle, no one can tell you that you struggle. You need colleagues who are empathic and say, "I acknowledge that you struggle," and then from that point on, they help you out of the pit or something.
Yeah.
And if you don't have emotionally aware colleagues, that won't happen.
Yeah, that could be brutal, I think.
Because they will come and tell you that your emotions are not right, and then you're stuck in a job maybe for years, where you're deeply unhappy, and people don't address it. And I must say, I really appreciate what you said before, Manu, about this talking things out. In a sense, because at my job, we needed a long time in our team to kind of become a team. Yeah. And it only worked, and I really want to emphasize it, because we talked about the hard parts.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, I'm really unhappy with you. Yeah. Or not with you, but I'm really unhappy. It's never about the person. It's about what happens.
Yes.
So you see, and you cannot talk about the hard parts if you don't know how to communicate. And this is an art. This is, if anyone ever wants to look up, maybe we can link it, Manu, in the description, is nonviolent communication.
Yeah.
It's one of it's one of the...
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling if you master this, because you can talk then about really difficult things.
Yeah, and it's not
in a way that
hard way.
Yeah, that the other person can listen, and both of you don't start yelling at each other.
Yeah,
and most definitely, really, really important. And these social skills there is so underestimated for that part, because, like I said, non-social fit. Yeah, it would take a decade usually to fix a person if they really wanted to, because these patterns are so devious in your social life.
Yeah, you would not have the time as a company to do that. And even, I mean, it takes that long, but this has the presumption that the person is willing to change. I mean, that's not obvious, right? And
the part is changing yourself.
Yeah.
For example, let's say you're a beer lover.
Yeah.
And me neither. And the person comes around, and imagine you get into a team where they need to teach you, or they kind of like part of the culture is, no, beer is hurting, I don't know, yourself and your neighbors. Maybe smoking is better. Yeah, smoking is bad for the people around you. This is not okay here. Okay, all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So the thing is, now you have this thing which is so deeply engraved in you, and it's not so easy to just stop smoking.
Wow, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Because it's a severe addiction inside of you, especially when you did it for 15 or 20 years.
Yeah.
So that's a bit the severity sometimes you have to encounter when it's not social fit issues.
Yeah, and then you just have to recognize, well, it's a bad fit. So what? There will be a company where you have a better alignment with your own self and what you want to express and what you want to do in the world, and the mission of the company. As long as those two things are aligned, the chances are much, much higher that you will get happy in that job.
Yeah. So don't be always sad when you don't get hired.
No.
Because sometimes, for example, if you ask critical questions and whatsoever, they get also uncomfortable. because they screw up themselves in their company with the culture. So it's always good if then they're like, oh wow, this would be a bit more of a problem maker, I guess, because you would question them.
Sure.
And in that situation, it's good that they don't hire you because you never wanted that job in the first place, really. You know.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah,
Ego of the bosses. Yeah, could also be a thing.
Yeah, very, very big. And you figure that out pretty quickly if you talk to the bosses.
Right.
Trust me.
Yeah. That's definitely a thing, yeah.
One important thing is always ask, for example, ask about what they do. Not what they say they do, what they offer, like we are remote friendly or something. And then in the end, you are allowed to work 2 days per week from home. Actions. Ask for what did you do? What do you offer? Really ask for actions. Yeah. Actions are everything. Words are nothing. They can sweet talk you into death.
Right. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. No, definitely. And yeah, after that, usually you get hired or you have one last interview often. It depends a bit, which is more like an HR interview where you kind of figure out, okay, how much money do you actually want? I hate that question at last because I kind of would have wanted to talk about it in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because in the end, they come like, they'll offer you less than your current job. And I'm like, why would I have ever wanted to go through this for less money? You know?
Yeah. The money.
I mean, or they then say, like, that's why put important stuff always in the beginning. Say, recruiters get better, fortunately, these days, but say, okay, this is the range in the payment. And these things are really important to me. Like, for example, for me, remote work, absolutely undiscussable. You know, if you offer me like, yeah, you can work 3 days from home per week, I'm like, okay, gone. Really important things first, and then later figure out the details, you know.
Yeah, that's also a personal thing, right? So, I mean, some of you could be perfectly fine going every day into offices, and that's perfectly fine as well. I mean, yeah, there's great benefits with having a team where you are close together in one room, and yeah, that's a good thing. But on the other side, there are people who just work better for themselves in other environments, maybe also while traveling and stuff like that. So, and there's no reason to judge those either. So I think it would be best if a company just looks at the key performance indicators. If that's fine, if you're doing your job, I mean, what's the hell? What's the deal? So yeah,
I think yeah, you're totally right. What people forget is always sit down first and think about what you want, and not what you want, what you really want.
Yeah, that's a hard thing, I think.
And that's a hard thing. Most people never thought about when they choose a job what they really want.
Yeah.
Really write down what do I definitely not want anymore, for example. It's always a good start that you get a direction.
Yes.
And then figure out more. But it takes usually already quite some time to know what you really want.
And be careful about that, because what you want, you will get there. Maybe. And I don't know if you...
And you will figure out it's not what you wanted.
You could also want the wrong thing.
I had a lot of people... I had it in myself a long time to get more into management, but if you really figure out what it means...
Yeah. You have to become a different person.
Yeah,
so at least
it's not...
that's my feeling. So it depends. I think there are management examples where you really are very supportive and just look after people, be empathic. Yeah,
empathic.
Empathic.
Empathic leadership is so rare as empathic.
It's rare, but it's so valuable, well, because you will get the friction out of the team. So
entirely, man. Even the opposite. You get extreme good performance generally.
Yes. Yes, there's this one word, I don't get it in the English language right now, but where the sum is greater than... Yeah, you know what I mean. It's greater than the sum of the parts.
The total is greater than the sum, because it's more like a product, right? You multiply things up
and you have
to team members.
And if you can foster those, I mean, that's great. And I think that's a job which also can be very satisfying and also good to do. But I don't know. So the picture I have in my mind from a management role, it's quite the opposite. So there
Yeah,
are
me
rare
too.
cases where a manager is really more like a servant to the team, but I think that would be the only correct position to be in.
The wrong attitude, it's a little bit about spirit for me always, but the wrong attitude most companies have still, which are a bit older and rigid, they think they pay you and afterwards they can do with you whatever you want.
Yeah, they own you.
They own you, kind of like this attitude, and this is a big red flag.
Yeah.
I like it more, as I told you about the interview, if you are more on the same level and they kind of, you can ask them what is important for you. That's always important. That you also make clear what they want really in the interview.
Yeah.
But it's also important that when you tell what you want really yourself, that they don't maybe if they say, we don't have that, but for you, yeah, we can talk about that maybe, but not talk about in kind of like talk about, but really, yeah, maybe if that is your need, we can do it, or
Yeah,
whatever, kind of that the other person tries to also satisfy your needs.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the important part, is a bit that they understand that they pay you for your time, but they still cannot force you because you need to want to work for them.
Yeah.
If they treat you badly, you will be there, you will get paid, but you will not do anything because you will, I don't know, surf on a browser or whatever. You will give a shit if stuff is burning.
Yeah.
So the only reason that this works is that you want to help them and they want to help you. And you have this empathic connection.
And it's also commitment, right? So that you commit to your company's mission and they commit to you as a person. I very much like that. I was once in a hiring interview where they offered me like an amount of a budget per year which I could spend like I would want for my own self-learning and self-development, and I love that idea. To just get a couple K per year to just buy books. I mean, I love
courses, man. That's so good. Or maybe a trainer.
Great. Yeah,
great, man.
Or a course. That's really a benefit, and I think modern companies are also a little bit heading in this direction, but certainly not all. And I think that's a great example of just having an interest in your people to just also make them grow. I think that's one crucial aspect of management, that you want to try to grow your people, that they can, and you don't want to direct them too harshly. So you have this role in mind and this person has to become that role, and if he does anything else it's rubbish, get another one better fitting. No. I think there was this example with Toyota or so. They had some situation where they could not fire a team. And I think it was a big team. I think like 20,000 guys or so. So they could not fire them. So they sat down and thought about it and said, all right, we have those people and they're bound to us no matter what for the next 10 years. Let's develop those people into the best versions of themselves, however that could be achieved. So they spent ton in education and in self-improvement stuff and whatever. And that led to a big success because, you had this human capital and you took care of it and let them grow into different directions. And that's where all this creativity came in, and the process got a lot better. So I'm not 100% sure if that was Toyota or so. I'm mixing that stuff up most likely. But that was kind of inspiring to me to just see your people like someone who you are really deeply interested in their growth as people, right? And I think that's
I also previously a good at it's true. I had a previous employer where it wasn't like this. There was no growth planning basically. You were there, you could do your stuff. You could do it yourself if you wanted to grow, but I think definitely need some supportive backwind for that.
Yeah, definitely.
It's really beautiful if someone comes to you and says, I don't want to make you into my puppet or whatever. I want to make you more into yourself.
Yes.
It touches me so much always when I hear that,
Yeah.
It's really, and And like I said, for example, in my current team, it's exactly like that. And it's so moving to me that someone comes to you every year, sits down with you and says, which direction do you want to go? You know? And you can choose yourself. And then they also come down and say, okay, this is what you believe, what you want. I have a few ideas more of my own, you know, and then put them out and you can choose. It's amazing.
Yeah,
I like that.
You with that, right? I mean, that's really cool, but not in that attitude that they tell you what to do. More like, I mean, that's a proposal. I think that would be fitting to you. What do you think? And just this attitude is worth $1 billion, I think. Yeah.
And also one thing I had once with one boss where that person was also how to put it, was becoming, it was also assuming new roles and that stuff. And I saw that person struggled also. And I always also said that person, you know, the best thing you could really do is just be more self-pleased in your current role, you know, even though it was a management role. Because I realized how that person lost a bit track with their own inner spirit. But I really, it's the best you can do is really to tell people to be themselves. Because, you know, the thing is, if you tell them not to be themselves, there's this inner tension. Because like, I'm not good enough. I'm judged. And we have that already all the time in our heads, in subconscious.
Yeah, and you're playing a role.
So. Yeah, and you try to fit it. You try to grow into this role, but it will never work, I can assure you.
Yeah.
But the moment where someone comes and says, you're fine the way you are, you know, this relaxation sets in. It's okay to relax that I'm the way I am. And then this person, the funny part is in the moment where you relax, you can move forward, actually. So in order for a person to grow, to tell them they are not good enough is not helping. In order to make them grow, you actually do the opposite, to tell them you're okay, so they relax about themselves, and from that moment on, they can move on because there's no attachment to anything.
I think there is a I would say a healthy tension, but also an unhealthy tension. So if you try to phrase it differently, if you have this thought in mind, you could be better, you could be more, you could do more, you have unrealized potential. This, in my experience, helped me to get going. But I also saw the unhealthy tension, which you just mentioned during the PhD. I mean, this is exactly the train of thought.
It's extreme pressure.
Exactly that. For a couple of years, you're not good enough, you're rubbish, you're not doing shit. And you try to, I don't know how to put it, to climb the ladder. I don't know if that's really a ladder. You just try to prove to yourself somehow that it is, that you are worthy enough to become a PhD or whatever. And this is so mind-boggling, it was to me, because as soon as I reached that milestone, I not valued myself more, I devalued the position. Because then, if I'm a PhD, well, everybody can be a PhD. You know, it's so mind games. It's hard. But
I told you my mother, they said once, if I'm finally in leadership or something, you know, in a side note, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, you know, that's exactly how it's engraved in us, you know. It's so horrible.
Yeah, because you're just good if you do the stuff you're supposed to do, and this can be horrible. This can be devastating.
And from that part on.
Yeah, but it comes back to this question about honesty. I mean, you see, it's rooted in almost every direction we went in this conversation. It's being honest to yourself, what you want, what you need, being honest about to your future company, and also the company being honest to you, what they can offer you, what they can show you, what they want from you. And if that's the case, that's a good situation to go from there.
Maybe we take that as the final summary.
All right. All right. Yeah, I think maybe we will do future hiring videos, because I think this topic is best explored when also just trying to put yourself back into the interview. I never done any software interviews, so that could be a good thing.
Maybe write in the comments if you would like something like this.
Yeah.
And we can also think about the format a bit, but if you would like maybe to even participate in a mock interview,
Oh, yeah.
maybe we can also make a video with one of you or something.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah. So would just some ideas. And of course, if you want to see a devastating video where I interview Manu.
Yeah, very much looking forward to that. Yeah.
Like the pull request, you know, you come in confidently.
I will get destroyed, yeah.
You go out.
I will do feature fix button. We'll do exactly that. No.
Your wife will have to prep you up for a week afterwards.
Very much so. Shall we talk shortly about the tea?
Yeah, I had the same idea. Last but not least.
I'm drinking today Japan Sencha, which is exactly that one.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Haven't drank that in a long time, man.
Yeah. It's really cool. It has a very, I would say, harmonic taste, but also with a bitterness. But it's refreshing. It's not that hard on you. So yeah, I like that very much.
What I always find why I dislike a bit the Japanese teas usually compared to the Chinese is the Japanese are very uniform, very. I mean, the Japanese, if you look at the cuisine or stuff, like they don't have edges really, taste edges, strong edges, and stuff. And the Chinese, they have more this rough characteristics in also the teas, you know.
Yeah.
Like if you a hard example is a rock tea, you know, or something like it.
Yeah.
Which really the name already, I don't need to tell you. Yeah. The name already says it. And I like that more because we humans we're so imperfect. Like everyone has something which is not perfect. And I like it to have these characteristic notes, you know, like something just
character, right? Yeah.
Just something.
Yeah.
But I must say sometimes I have these mornings like you where I'm like, oh, I just need to something soothing, you know. Then usually some Japanese teas are perfect. You know?
Yeah. It's exactly that.
I'm drinking the Bai Mudan.
Ah, yeah. Bai Mudan.
Yeah, really nice.
Yeah, I like that tea too. That's a pretty cool one.
Yeah, definitely recommend the big one. That one.
Yeah.
Okay then, thank you very much for this video. And yeah, looking forward seeing you on our channel.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.